What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Eyed Popcorn for that review. I'm Chris, and I'm here to talk about Smile 2. So yeah, you might have noticed it is just me this time, no Nick. Nick is watching a whole mess of horror movies, trying to cram as many as he can into October, just like myself. And we'll have a horror movie roundup video for you guys coming very soon, so look forward to that. We certainly are looking forward to making that video. So we got a lot of horror movies to recommend. We're watching a whole bunch, but I decided to go see Smile 2, and Nick did not. Although that may change before the end of the year, who knows? But Smile 2 obviously is the sequel to Smile, which came out just a couple years ago. It's the same director and writer, Parker Finn, who has very little under his belt up to this point. So it's nice to see like new directors coming out with new franchises. People's mileage varied a lot on the first movie. Like, some people really loved that movie. Some people were a little mixed about it. And I'm sure some people absolutely hated it and said it was way too derivative of other horror movies that had come before it and done things better. I think at the time when it came out, I could see people drawing a lot of parallels to The Ring, as well as something like It Follows. And there was a little bits of other things hidden in there too. As time's gone on, I kind of don't think... Well, and even when I watched it the first time, I thought it was cool enough on its own that it could stand on its own. And I enjoyed it a lot. I didn't think it was perfect. And rewatching it, I thought, like, okay, maybe not. You know, it's not a 10 out of 10, but I thought it was really enjoyable, fun, artistically done, well done horror movie, well acted. And I really thought the main role in the first movie, played by Kevin Bacon's daughter, can't remember her name right now, was handled really well, and there was a lot on her shoulders in that movie. But so this is the sequel. So what is the sequel about? On Letterboxd, it says, about to embark on a new world tour, a global pop sensation, Sky Riley, begins experiencing increasingly terrifying and inexplicable events. Overwhelmed by the escalating horrors and the pressures of fame, Sky is forced to face her dark past to regain control of her life before it spills out of control. So I'm going to want to talk about this movie in detail, and that will involve spoilers in a minute. But I do want to talk about this for those that are interested in seeing this but may need a little encouragement to see it. If you don't want to hear about spoilers, I'll tell you a few things right now. So first of all, I kind of went into this with not super high expectations. Sequels for me, and I think most people, are notoriously not as good as their predecessors. I do like, obviously, that this is like a returning director from the first one, and not a lot of time's passed. So you do kind of like know you're going to get, if you like the first one, you're probably going to get some quality stuff, but it's usually diminishing returns. It's not going to be as good. So I went into this like, you know, I'm open-minded about it, but I wasn't sure how it was going to go. And hopefully this isn't too much of a spoiler, but I will just tell you how it opens, which is this just blasts you right to 6 days after the ending of the first movie. And we meet up with Kyle Gallner's character before. So it does expect you to have seen the first movie, and you need to have seen it before, because this movie's not going to explain much to you. It expects you to have understood some of the lore from the first movie. Picks up 6 days after the ending of the first movie, and we've got Kyle Gallner's character trying to free himself of this curse in the only way that's possible besides unaliving yourself in front of somebody else in a gruesome, horrifying way. And it goes horribly awry. But that opening sequence is so well shot, well handled, and it's done like a one take. Maybe it's not a real one take, but if it's not, they hit it well. It's just such a jarring, nice, visually satisfying, awesome opening sequence. It ends with the bang. It just lets you know right off the bat what you're in for. And it really got me, it got its hooks in me early. So I was already like, okay, this might be actually really awesome. One of the things that stands out right away is the sound design and the score here. I thought the sound design is really nice. The sound effects are mixed really high in the mix, so you really hear everything. But also the score here, and it is a similar score to the first one, and I meant to look up and see if it's the same person doing the score on both. It probably is. It is a similar score to the first movie, which I just rewatched again after watching Smile 2, actually, just to give myself a little reminder about that one. But I think this one amps it up. I think this kind of cranks it up to a new level, and it's just such off-kilter, bizarre, unusual score, and I really enjoyed the score here. It almost felt like it was a character in its own right. I know that's cliche to say. But the score was doing a lot of work here. And the main actress here really amps it up, man. A lot is asked of this girl, even more so than in the first movie. And I thought she really handled it well. I mean, really has to convey a whole slew of different emotions. She's not just battling this demon. She's also dealing with, like I said in the beginning, the pressures of fame and the constant pressure to like not make any mistakes. You know, this tour is sort of like redemption tour. She can't make any mistakes here. She's got to show the world that she's actually recovered and she's on the mend and everything's going to go better from here on out, and she's going to do this new tour.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sky Riley, you are in the middle of a big world tour.
But I mean, she did just take a pause from being a touring musician because of her past with substance abuse and this horrible car accident that killed her boyfriend. And the drama around that, she's got a lot to live up to, but also the pressures of touring was a problem for her, and that was what she's kind of claiming led to her drug abuse. So it feels like it's a little soon to be rushing into, you know, another tour, and that is what turns out to happen. So she's not just dealing with the demon, she's dealing with the pressures of touring on top of this demon, and everything just compounds on itself. All that to say, I really, really enjoyed this movie a lot. I thought this is handedly the superior of the two movies, actually. I think this is an improvement on the first one, and I think a lot of people are going to agree with that. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I haven't seen reviews for this, but I would just be really surprised if you like the first one. I think you're probably going to like this one even more. I think this is kind of cranks everything up to another level. I think this is maybe not as scary. I mean, depending on who you are, this is going to either scare the pants off of you or just be like a satisfying, scary movie. But I think it amped the scare level up. It amps the gore up. There's a lot of practical effects here, which I love to see, but also they're amplified in a way that I don't mind at all with CGI.
Gemma?
To make those practical effects even more effective. And I thought it was, for the most part, very seamless. In the original movie, there are some moments of CGI with a dead cat, especially, that are just very cringe-inducing and horrible, and a byproduct of it having a lower budget and all that. So you got to forgive it a little bit, but it does look bad, and I would rather see a prop dead cat than a CGI one. But it took away some of the effectiveness from it. This one has a little bit bigger budget, and it was able to do more with the little bit of CGI that it used, but it also was able to do a lot more with practical effects, which I love to see, and feels a lot more real to me. So I really appreciated that about it. I can't say enough about the main performance here. I know Kyle Gallner only gets a few minutes in this movie as the opening, but I thought that was a really strong opening. So just all around, if you like Smile 2, or if you like Smile at all, I highly recommend this one. And even if you didn't love Smile 2 and you thought it was all right, I think this takes and expands and expounds upon that to a degree that it's everything you want out of a sequel, and it's almost everything I want out of a horror movie. It's not perfect. I have some complaints, but man, this is one of the best horror movies of the year for me, surprisingly so. I mean, something like Terrifier had all the gore and but this had more, even though Terrifier 3 was going for that too. This had a little more heart. I was a little more invested in the characters. The acting is really, really top tier. Not to even disparage any other movies, but just the acting is top tier. You get to see Jack Nicholson's son, Ray Nicholson, in here it's a short role, but he's great in it, and it's just great to see like a clone of like young, 1970s Jack Nicholson acting in movies. But not to say that he's going to have his own career and not be Jack Nicholson, but that face and that smile is so recognizable. I think if you watched this and didn't know that was Jack Nicholson's son, you could figure it out just looking at him. And there's other supporting characters that are good here, but that's the main people that you remember. I would say the only other one maybe for me is Rosemary DeWitt's character as Elizabeth, who is Sky Riley, the pop star's mother, who's kind of like a mother / agent / whatever. She's kind of like spent all this money to make this work. She's kind of given up her own life to do all this for her daughter's career, and so that does lead to some tension in the movie. But yeah, without going into any more, I do want to just say I highly recommend this. I think people are gonna be really surprised by how much this steps it up, and it's just really refreshing to see newer director. This is a pretty new director. and he came out with a short. He based a whole movie on a short with a pretty small budget. It was very, very successful for its small budget. I doubt this one's going to be able to replicate that turnover. Unfortunately, I wish I could say I think that was going to do this was going to do that. I think it deserves that money. So hopefully I'm wrong, and it gets a big box office win like it should. But we'll see. I think might have legs though. Like it might stick around in the box office for a while because I think word of mouth might do some good for this. At least if you're asking me, man, I highly recommend you go see this movie. So that includes you, Nick. When you watch this, you should go watch Smile 2 and turn this video off because I'm going to talk about some spoilery stuff. So that's my recommendation. I'm going to go ahead and score it right now before I get into spoilers. But I'm actually going 8. Recency bias almost makes me want to give it an 8.5. I feel like that might be a little overkill because there are a couple things that hold it back. But man, this really, really surprised me, and it was a really, really fun time. Anxiety inducing. I'm twisted in my chair. There's things I had to look away from the screen. So really, really great. This is one not to miss. So that's your last warning. I'm going to get into spoilers. Well, let's just talk about the plot a little bit. So you've got the opening sequence, and then we meet Sky Riley, the pop star, who's kind of reminded me a little bit of Lady Gaga, but like in the current climate, she almost reminded me more of Chappell Roan. It's almost, I'm sure Chappell Roan probably didn't even nobody knew who that was when this movie was being conceived of or whatever.
Yeah, not to brag, but yeah, I'm really giving, so.
It's kind of has some interesting parallels with the Chappell Roan story if you follow pop music. It's kind of like the struggles of fame. It's almost like a little bit of a horror story in a similar but very different also way to the substance. A little bit of a horror story about how fame can be more of a curse than a blessing. And also, like the first movie, this is telling a story about how trauma affects people, how witnessing someone's death affects people. So there's a lot of analogies there to trauma, and this demon feeds off trauma. But the other thing is, so right off the bat, we've got this pop star who's she's going on Drew Barrymore to sort of start her redemption arc. She's showing off her new short hair, which we actually see is from her trichotillomania, where she's tearing out her hair as an anxiety symptom. But she treats it like, I'm just trying a new hairstyle. And actually, the Drew Barrymore part, because I'm just not a huge Drew Barrymore fan, and certainly not a fan at all of her daytime talk show, that was an interesting way to start it. But I'm biased and didn't love that, so I was a little skeptical at that point. But it does set us up for what's going on. What are we trying to overcome? Her issues with drug addiction and things like that. This horrible car accident that's scarred her mentally and physically, and she's just trying to start this new tour and kind of unveil a new side of herself. So it's not clear, but it seems like she's trying to do this very Art Nouveau, new artsy angle, and kind of pull Lady Gaga, Chappell Roan, like I said. Maybe do a little bit of a new image or whatever. But things are off to a bad start because she's practicing some choreography with her team and practicing this new song. And the choreography here, by the way, I got to take a second to say, is really, really well done. I thought the choreography is great. The music I thought was actually really good. You could make comparisons to this and Trap because they both have a pop concert underneath a horror movie, but I really didn't see that comparison. I thought the music here was great. Not that was the thing about Trap that was bad, but it was too much music. And this is a lot less music, but what we do get is actually really good. And I could see myself listening to this on its own right. Maybe that's crazy, but I didn't think it was bad. And it's Naomi Scott actually singing in it. They're releasing a companion EP to the movie, so if you want to listen to more of this, you can. But she's practicing this choreography scene, and they're kind of doing this thing where they're all picking her up and twisting her while she's kind of stiff. It reminded me a Billie Eilish kind of choreography or something like that. And she tweaks her back, and she's got this drug problem, so she can't just go get any drugs, anything stronger than a Tylenol or an ibuprofen. And her mom is always right behind her, watching every move she makes. So she tricks her mom into dropping her off somewhere, like a hotel or something. And then she leaves that hotel and walks or gets an Uber, gets a taxi, and goes and meets an old dealer of hers who she needs to get Vicodin for her back. And this guy has lost his marbles, and it's because this is the person, we're in spoiler territory now, this is the person who witnessed the botched ridding of the demon of Joel, Kyle Gallner's character in the beginning. That didn't go right. It was supposed to be a murder and a witness to a murder, and that witness passes on the demon, and then you're free of the... But he actually ends up killing both of the guys and doesn't even know there's another person here. And then Kyle Gallner gets hit by a truck in the beginning and dies. So that's our opening, is like Kyle Gallner's... Everything failed there miserably. But now there is one witness who saw these two murders, and so he gets the curse now, like is established in the first movie that can happen. So he's cursed now, and he's losing his mind. He's on like day 7, day 4, whatever it is. You only get so many days with this thing like the ring before it gets you. And she goes over to his house to get the Vicodin, and when she picks the worst time to go over there, because this is the moment where the smile demon is going to crawl inside that guy's mouth and take over, and he's going to off himself in front of her. And he does so in such a brutal way. He picks up a gym weight and just over and over again, like ridiculously rapidly, smashes himself in the face with this thing. You know, stuff's just splattering the back wall behind him. Really insane stuff. The practical effects on his face are insane. But she's traumatized from that, clearly, vomits, starts to call 911, and then she realizes, nope, I can't do that. I'm a huge pop star. This is my redemption tour. I've got to make this work. So she doesn't call the police. She just leaves, and now she's literally haunted, but also, I mean, you would be haunted anyway, because all she can think about is how she left this guy there, and maybe her DNA is there. What, could she have done anything to stop him? Whatever was going through her head. And the smile demon does what it does best. It basically systematically just ruins your life one little step at a time, embarrassing you, ruining your reputation. This all happens in the first movie too, but it just does everything to make you look like you're insane, unreliable. No one's going to trust you. It's like you feel like you're crying wolf all the time. Nobody can see any of the crazy stuff you're seeing. So it just does everything to ruin your reputation, make you seem insane, make you seem stupid, and just embarrass yourself in front of as many people as it can. It's just the cruelest demon, It's like it has a vendetta against each person it's attacking. And it'll look like all the people that could hurt you the worst, dead relatives of yours, people that you don't want to see, people that remind you of trauma in your past. And it can look like anybody. So kind of like It Follows, but a little less random. Because It Follows is just like, it could look like a stranger, it could look like whatever. In this case, it like almost always looks like somebody who is important to you, or like and it's going to trick you into doing crazy things. It's going to make you think that something's happening and you're actually the one doing it, and you don't realize it until it's like almost like you black out, and then you realize, oh, I'm the one stabbing such and such. But so she's trying to do this tour in the midst of being haunted by this demon. The clock's ticking. Somebody texts her anonymously and says, were you at such and such as... The character's name is Louis Fergoli.
You remember Louis Fergoli?
That kills himself in front of her, and it's played by Lucas Gage. I thought he did a great job of being insane. He's got a samurai sword at her neck in the first couple seconds of her walking through the door. So he handles the character really, really well. And there's some comedy there that I think works. But so now she's haunted by this demon. She's dealing with fame. She's dealing with the pressure of making this a redemption. And she starts to have dreams that are reminding her, and for us, the audience, showing us what happened in her past with this car accident. And I thought that made for a really impressive scene when we see a reenactment of the car accident that sort of upended her life at the end of her career, for at least pausing her career. And that scene with Ray Nicholson and Naomi Scott, they do some really cool there's cool cinematography all through this, a lot of flipping and turning and twisting cameras like the first movie. But this one does it even more, amps that up even more. And when, in this scene in particular, the camera is just, there's a lot of like close-up face shots in this movie, even more so than the first one. A lot of close-up face shots, really, really clean cinematography. But you pan back and forth between Naomi Scott's character, Sky Riley, and Ray Nicholson's character as Paul Hudson. You're panning back and forth, seeing the road, and these people are on drugs. They're swerving all over the road. It's tension-inducing, and you know what's going to happen is that they're getting in this car accident, but you don't know when it's going to happen. It's just very tense, and that camera jarring back and forth, the whole screen jarring from one face to another, was really effective and cool. Really enjoyed that a lot. And Ray Nicholson, I've never seen him in anything before, but I want to see him in more stuff. This was a nice little taste of what he might be able to deliver. So I'd like to see him in horror movies or whatever else he wants to do. But that was really cool. And then, you know, you get obviously a lot of the smiling characters, and a lot of the demon, even more so in this movie, the demon tricking Sky Riley into doing in all these different scenarios, making her think this is happening, really this is happening. And she does eventually get in touch with the anonymous texter who's asking her questions that she doesn't want to answer that make her very nervous about the death of this person who killed himself in front of her. But it turns out when she does finally meet up with this man, he is privy to what's going on. He knows that there's this demon chain that's passed along by suicides and seeing suicides. And he says he's traced them all back, although it seems like Kyle Gallner knew more in the first movie than he does. But he knows that she's like however far along in the chain, and his brother died in the same chain, so he's been trying to find a solution to the problem. He was a former nurse, and the idea is he's going to try to stop her heart for 9 minutes, kill the host of this demon because he thinks it can't live without a host, and then bring her back and presume that it's, and I don't see how that could have worked, but that's the idea. But things go so awry in ways that are too crazy to sum up quickly in this review. But I'll just say that things do not go well at all. There's so many double crosses and reveals of, and I can see that drawing some people away from this because there's a lot of like, that wasn't really happening. What was really happening is this, and it happens so many times that I can see people being like, well, I wish I had a better understanding of what really happens. But I think by the end of it, you do have an understanding of what's really happening. And the big spoiler of it all, the big ending, is it's revealed that a lot of the end of the movie was like a hallucination created by this demon. And she opens out of this pod thing that's part of her stage performance as Sky Riley, this performer. This is the moment that the smile demon is coming to get her. And so this giant, they've really improved a lot. I thought the look, it does look a little bit like if you took Slimer from Ghostbusters and like made him out of flesh and meat and stretched him out longer. Like the face is a little crazy looking, but I dug it. I was here for the camp of it and the craziness of it. But I thought it was an improvement on the first one. The first one kind of looked like somebody glued a bunch of skulls together. It was kind of cool, but it's like if you just glued a bunch of jaws onto a skull and put some meat on that. This was a lot better done. And also it's like climbing out of a person, so that was nuts. But this big smile demon with all the jaws and teeth and everything climbs inside of her. She's like suffocating on the ground, and then she stands back up and she's smiling and everybody's cheering, and then she proceeds to kill herself by jamming a microphone into her eye socket. And she does that. You don't see that happen, you see the after result of it, but you see the crowd's reaction to this happening. So this whole audience of people, including her mother that she thought was dead that isn't dead, her assistant, everybody that she knows and loves, and this whole audience of people just witnessed her suicide, which means she just passed that demon along to everyone. Credits. That's it. Like, so the next movie, if there's one, and I think there very well could be, could potentially be like, this is like a pandemic level thing now where you've got like thousands of people that just witnessed the same suicide and all got this demon at once. So I could see potential for a sequel. I could also see this maybe being the logical end and maybe don't take it to that level of craziness. But it just left me really satisfied in every way I can think of, really. Like the only thing that held it back for me was, I was never bored, but this is a little bit over 2 hours long, and that is too long for this. I wish it had been a little shorter than that. I think it probably could have told the story a little shorter. I'm not sure where I would have cut things, but I think you probably could have cut some stuff out of this. But man, there's just so much to like that I just really highly recommend this. And I think this is going to be up there with some of my favorite horror movies of the year. Like I said, I don't think it's in my top 10 movies of the year, but man, this is up there with some of the best horror movies of 2024. So, big surprise for me. You know, I thought I would think it was all right, if not bad, but really, really impressed here, especially from Naomi Scott. I really want to see Naomi Scott in more stuff. I hadn't seen her in anything before this. I looked at stuff she's done in the past, like that I've missed, and it doesn't look like any of that's really going to be for me. But I hope this is the beginning of her career, maybe as a scream queen, final girl kind of thing, or whatever she decides to do. I'm here for it. But I thought she did great. And also, I'm really excited to see what Parker Finn does next. It looks like the next thing he's doing is a remake to one of my favorite movies of all time, Possession, from I think 79 or 80. That feels like a movie that shouldn't be remade, but it looks like it's going to have some good casting with Robert Pattinson. And in this guy's hands, I'm kind of interested to see what happens. And that's an old movie that, you know, maybe it's time to even touch some sacred ground like that. I'm not above it. I'll give this guy a chance with that. So really interesting film. Really took me by surprise. I'm kind of excited to see that again. Maybe next Halloween I'll do this again and watch Smile 1 and Smile 2 in the proper order. So like I said, I'll be back with Nick again with another review very soon. We'll also have a video list of horror movies that we recommend for you guys, or just that we're just plowing through a whole bunch of movies right now, horror movies right now for Halloween. So we're gonna have a horror movie list to talk about with you guys, and we're watching different movies, so a little bit of crossover, a little bit of our own takes. So look forward to that, and it would help us out greatly if you clicked like on this video, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell if you want to get notified about our videos, and comment below if you've seen this video. I'd love to see what you think about it, or if you just watched the beginning of this and you've seen the first one, let me know if this made you think, maybe you should check this movie out. But I'd love to hear from you down below, whatever you got to say. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.
We was nothing.